Hello, this is Julia Davis of Yoga Teachers Forum, and I'm here with Monica today to find out a little bit more about her and what she's going to be sharing in our forum this month. So good morning, Monica.
Good morning, Julia. Thanks for having me today.
You're very welcome. So I just thought I'd start, like I do with all my little chats, by finding out a little bit more about how you started out on your journey in yoga. So you can let me know a little bit more about how you started on your journey.
Yes, of course, of course. That was many months ago, though. As I like to call it, my previous life. So I have a background in corporate, working in corporate environments, and by then, it was very high demanding, very pressuring, and I discovered yoga meditation almost 2 decades ago. Actually, my very first yoga class was a Kundalini class. And I was so intrigued about people wearing in white and chanting, and it's like, how are these people, what they're doing? But actually, even if I remember getting into that room with a bit kind of skeptical, when I left, I felt that something had shifted. And so I kept going, I kept coming, and I kept kind of just discovering different styles. And then kind of I developed more into asana practice, into hatha, understanding a little bit more the biomechanics. And at some point, I decided to train as a yoga teacher a few years down the line, and started teaching on the side while I was still working in corporate. But then a couple of years ago, I kind of decided, you know what, I think it feels right. I kind of also been gathering all the skills. I certify as a transformational coach. I'm also a sound therapist and an energy healer. So kind of it felt that it was the right moment to bring all those disciplines together, and then decided to do this full time, which actually is what I'm doing right now. And it's great. It's actually having that space, kind of providing that space for people to reconnect with themselves, to kind of rediscover who they are. Because I mean, in this society that we're always playing roles in a way, right? We're like the husband, the wife, the daughter, the employee, the friend. And sometimes it's like, okay, I'm being there for the people, but how much I'm showing up for myself? And I kind of find yoga a great opportunity to step on the mat and say, okay, this is my hour, this is my time, or my hour, my half an hour, whatever it is at the time we're dedicating to that practice, to just entirely do something for myself. And I think that actually is really good and very needed these days.
Definitely. And what is a kind of a typical practice for you? If you're going to wake up in the morning, what do you love to practice yourself?
For me in the morning, especially because, you wake up and you're a little bit stiff, I like my morning ritual in a way. It is I spend a few minutes in bed without getting the phone or anything. And I start visioning my day. I think kind of the power of visualization and intention is really important, especially to give you that purpose in that direction through the day. And also why I reflect that into my practices, into my classes, and also any workshops that we do, with the one that we will be doing in a few days, we also start with intention, the power of intention, the power of bringing that reality into the space. Because I mean, the mind doesn't distinguish whether it is something that is actually happening or something that we're imagining. So actually, that's really important, that we're kind of bringing that experiential sensation, not just from our side or the brainwave, but also how we're feeling. So let's actually say, like today, for instance, I've been with a call, so I apologize for my husky voice. So I wake up and like, okay, I feel light, I feel strong, I feel that I can carry with my day, what other things that I want to see, right? And then with that, I step out of the bed and I do some somatic movement. I mean, sometimes I feel in the morning to do a full practice, sometimes I don't, because I have, like today, I had to teach really early. So I'd rather warm up and then go to teach. So then my practice just comes as it goes. So sometimes, like yesterday, I went for a 7 p.m. practice. It was like a yummy restorative with kind of some flow and some meditation and a lot of mudras, because I just felt kind of really drawn to it. So I'm a very creative person, which I think that's what I used to do in corporate. And I really kind of allow that creativity to infuse my own practice, but also my teaching.
And just at the beginning of this conversation, you talked about how you progressed from attending your first Kundalini class to maybe experiencing more of the physical practice, and then going on to doing your own teacher training. So it'll be really interesting just to find out a little bit more about who you trained with, how you trained, what your yoga training looked like, and then the other training that you've done, how that fitted in, what that was, and maybe in a little bit more detail. And because you mentioned healing, you mentioned coaching, and you mentioned the yoga teacher training. Those are three quite big things. It might be interesting to know just a little bit more about those, how you came to be doing them and how they weave into each other in your teaching.
Yeah, of course. So in terms of my walking this alternative path in a way, everything kind of started, I mean, first my own practice in yoga, but then when I moved to Singapore, in the probably now 10 years ago, I took a break from living here in Europe. I set my own company there, but still it was pretty much business consulting and strategic marketing, which is what I've been doing, what I was doing then. And kind of I had an opportunity as I was living in the East, and I had the beautiful chance to travel to a lot of countries within the region, to kind of fall in love with Taoism and then with Reiki, and kind of experience a lot of different disciplines. And then I met one of my spiritual teachers, which actually is just one of my best friends, Tara, based in Singapore. And through her, I started discovering all this kind of energetic path, which the way that I see, we are all spiritual beings. We all have that capacity. It's just that kind of some of us kind of, we feel drawn to develop or explore or open that door. Some of us is like, well, it doesn't really feel right, and that's fine as well. So kind of I felt really drawn to it. And then that's when I train as a Reiki master and a practitioner. Also discovered the Akashic records, which actually is kind of accessing these timeless library of knowledge that actually we have within us as souls. And also kind of I went on with my yoga practice. So I trained yoga-wise. I trained with Mark Stevens in the US, in California. Mark Stevens is very well known being kind of a yogi scholar. He has written 7-8 books about yoga sequencing, yoga adjustment, yoga therapy. He's really, really knowledgeable. And for me, it was really important to go with someone or to train with someone that had the years of experience, not just on his yoga practice, but also as a teacher of teachers. He's been teaching teachers for more than 30 years. I mean, he's extremely experienced and someone extremely knowledgeable, because he has practiced and taught all sorts of collectives. I mean, from trauma with PTSD, with people with injuries, people with disabilities. So, I mean, accessing that experience was actually, for me, absolutely fundamental, right? Especially as a young or as an experienced yoga teacher, it's like, okay, there's so much I want to know. I want to learn from someone that actually has had that lifetime of experience. Also, some other teachers that I practice with, Donna Farry. The thing is that she's based in New Zealand, so I kind of managed to practice with her when she's in London. She was in London now in May, so I went through, I joined her in a couple of workshops. I also trained with Sienna Sherman in the US. Her style is kind of very much, I like her because it's much more storytelling, feminine way of practice. It's very flowy, very, very creative. And I like combining that kind of masculine and feminine approaches. I mean, Mark, with the years, I think that he has also slowed down in his practice, but he's a very young, alignment focus and kind of very strong practice. While Shanna, she's bloody strong, don't get me wrong, but she also infuses a much more like creative and feminine approach to it. So these are kind of my 3 kind of key figures that I keep training with. But I also train with Uma in Yoga Nidra. So kind of I can infuse that a little bit in my restorative practices, in my yin. Kind of, again, we were talking about this the other day with you, Julia, that especially societies like in the UK, where everyone is just absolutely bombarded 24/7 with inputs, with information. Our adrenal and nervous systems are absolutely destroyed, absolutely wiped out. So it's good to have an invigorating practice to kind of keep us healthy and keep us moving. But it's equally important to allow the bodies to detox, to regenerate and allow those systems that support us to also replenish. That's kind of why restorative and yin practices are so important and are becoming so popular these days. And that kind of that part of the journey. The other part, I train as a transformational coach here in London in a school called Animas. Because of work, I was already a coach or a mentor because I have had big teams under me for many years. So kind of I always had this figure of, making sure that everyone was fine. They kind of, in terms of their development, in terms that they were kind of the objectives were meeting the company's objectives, and kind of making sure that everyone was kind of in their own development path. But it was more from a position of, I am the expert, I'm advising you. While these guys are the kind of training that I did, which actually I thought it was really interesting. It is you as a coach and you, the client, are equals. So your client, it is whole, it is creative, has all the answers. So you're holding space, which for me was terrifying in the beginning. It's like, really? It's like, this doesn't make any sense. But then as you kind of start understanding the methodologies and how actually you hold the space, it is so fascinating to see that actually when you put that trust into the person and their own journey and their own pace. I mean, not just, a lot of the things don't really happen during the session, but actually in the time that this person takes after the session to process, digest, and see what's happening. So then all of a sudden you meet the same person few days after in the following session, and they have had a complete breakthrough. It's like, oh yeah, that conversation that I had, and then I started thinking and whatever. It's like, oh wow. So it is very good. So then what I do, whether it's in my classes or my workshops, I really infuse a lot of these influences. So for instance, for the workshop that we're going to be presenting this month, we're going to be doing some coaching. So we're going to have few questions and kind of very defined structured questions for our attendees to kind of look inside and say, okay, how am I showing up for myself? How this is working for me or not working for me? How could this work for me? What are the elements that are not already in the equation? So my classes are very inquisitive in the way that I believe that we're all yoga students, whether we're teachers or not teachers, we're always learning, right? So ultimately we are one teachers. We know what is best for us. So allowing that space for the person to say, okay, I'm going to look inside, how am I feeling? How can I support myself today? And then go with it. I think that it has a lot of value in terms of, also kind of in the way that the brain learns. One thing is actually someone telling you to do something, but then if you bring the experiential part of it, so actually you making the decision, you feeling it in your own bones, that actually has a higher percentage to actually remain and retain as a learned experience that actually is just reading or someone telling you, oh, you should do this. So yeah, it works.
Yeah, so it sounds like in the session, we're going to have space to kind of be with the creative process.
Yeah.
And how are you going to weave in the physical to the session? Because we're all yoga teachers. We like to move as well as
sit. And that's the fascinating part of it. I mean, for me, movement, it is. I mean, the name of my company is Ingenium in Movement. Ingenium means creativity in movement. So for me, movement is a magnificent source of awakening creativity, awakening that solar plexus, that womb, especially for women that we have there, right? So the fact that yoga can be really, really liberating, but at the same time, it is still set poses and set structures. So I kind of really like to have a bit of somatic and organic free flow, and we're gonna do free flow in there. So we will have music, we will have a bit of we're gonna set the space in a way that then people, so in the beginning, we can just move a bit. And I don't know if you have heard about 5 rhythms. I'm not certified, but I do practice them quite a lot, and I find that kind of meditation in movement while dancing a great pathway, not just to release, but also to reconnect with whatever is going on. So we're going to do a little bit of that, not going through the 5 waves, but we will be doing a bit of through the movement, and then bringing the attention. So kind of guided meditation. We're going to start kind of working on every chakras, but especially we're going to be working on sacral and solar plexus, as they are creativity, but also determination and will, and how to present ourselves in the world. We're going to be really working on those 3 base chakras. during the session, and we're going to allow them to express and express in any way. So we're going to dance, we're going to draw, we're going to, you know, sing, we're going to just do anything that we feel like, in a way that kind of just breaking a bit that, I don't know whether it's shame, whether it is, you know, the blockages that I don't want to sound silly, I don't want to say the wrong thing, you know, because also kind of as teachers, I think that there's a lot of pressure on us that we need to be this institutionalized role. Like, we know we have the answers. People come to me because, well, we're just human beings, you know, that we are also learning like everyone else. So I think that allowing us to just show ourselves vulnerable and do whatever we feel like we have to do in order to get through that threshold is really important in order to kind of enhance and connect with our creativity, not just for our sequences and how we show up for our students, but also for ourselves. Like, actually say all the things that we want to do besides teaching yoga, whether they're workshops, whether they're, you know, how can I apply that creativity into my personal life, into, you know, the way that I cook, the way that, I don't know, the way that that I'm with my partner, with my kids, that I play with my kids, that whatever it is, or with myself, like, how can I be more creative with myself in the way that I look after myself? Like, it is endless possibilities of how we can apply that.
Well, from what you've just said there, it sounds like we're going to have a nice amount of space to feel into our own possibilities, our own creativity in a quiet way, and then also have the opportunity to express things in a bigger way.
Yes.
And do all of that within a safe space with other people who are also teachers, who understand the pressures that we're under, who understand that sometimes you step on the mat and you don't feel like you have the authority to teach the people you. So that is really the essence of what the Teachers Forum is about. It's about being with other people who are experiencing what we're all experiencing as teachers, and then having someone like you there who's got that knowledge from not only a yoga teaching perspective, but also kind of having that sense of understanding from a healing perspective and also from a coaching perspective. It's really lovely to have a teacher with us who has got those facets to them. And also it gives me a real sense of calm and ease, knowing that you have trained with a variety of different people who have different areas of expertise. So maybe one has a very strong knowledge in physiology and in the body, and another maybe a real sense of the power of the feminine, and another an ease kind of in the fluidity of movement. So I would encourage anyone who wants to kind of turbo boost their yoga practice and their yoga teaching, just kind of feel a bit more excited about it, to come along on the 27th of November. It's 1:30 to 3:30 as always. This session will be facilitated by Monica, and what we'll do at the end of this conversation is we'll make sure that in the notes you've got all the details of how you could contact Monica, how you can come along to the session. And what's wonderful about our Wednesday afternoons is that they raise money for shelter, and they're really inexpensive. It's £10 to come along, and all the money goes to a really deserving charity.
Exactly. Not just that we're gonna learn, we're gonna have some fun. And I think kind of also as yoga teachers, it's really important that we keep space for ourselves to learn, to be exposed to other realities and other alternative ways of doing things. I mean, for me, the fact that I did my teacher training, but I keep learning is because exactly as you're doing, there's so much that you can actually just bring into your day-to-day, not just because your practice and your teaching reflects also your own style and what's going on with you, but also, you know, the fluidity and kind of the knowledge of the fascia and the internal processes of Donna, but then the alignment and the really strong alignment, focus, and physiognomy from Mark, but then the femininity from Shana. So all of that is infused in the practice, and that's actually lovely, because then you're not just stuck to one way of doing things, and which again, I mean, it just really reflects our life. It's kind of, we are all in movement, well, in emotion. And something that you mentioned, Julia, is really important is actually this connection, and that's kind of, I think, why the Yoga Teachers Forum is such an important platform, because as teachers, we're kind of all, you know, teaching here, teaching there, oh, my covers, and then my teachers and my workshops and my retreats. And it can be really isolating, because in a city like London, that you have so many yoga teachers, and sometimes you feel that you're kind of quite on your own. And, you know, so many yoga teachers, oh, it's really competitive, you know, I need to fight for my spot, which actually is completely the opposite. I mean, look at us. We are 2 yoga teachers collaborating, doing something beautiful. I mean, for me, it's completely the opposite. It's like, okay, let's do stuff together, because you kind of just also changing that understanding in kind of way that a lot of yoga teachers see this profession, that, oh, you need to, you know, make your way in. And no, it's completely the opposite, right? And even like, not just that, but doing it for a great cause, which is shelter. So yeah, please come along.
Thank you so much, Monica. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks' time at our forum. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, everyone. See you very soon.